Good day. My name is Marcia Taylor, and I'm with the University of the Virgin Islands, also with the St. Croix Seashell Society. And today I'm going to talk about echinoids, which is all the organisms in the class Echinoidae. Echinoids belong to the phylum Echinodermata, meaning spiny-skinned animals. Animals in the class include sea urchins and sand dollars, as shown here. Related species in the echinoderm phylum include sea stars, brittle stars, sea cucumbers, crinoids. However, today I'm just going to be talking about these two groups, the sea urchins and the sand dollars. Some of the characteristics of the echinoids is that they have radial symmetry. Unlike humans and many animals that have bilateral symmetry, they have radial symmetry, and usually they're divided up into 5 parts. Other characteristics include having a water vascular system, which includes tube feet, as well as associated plumbing for the tube feet, and that is used for both walking, clinging to substrate, and holding on to food. Other characteristics of this group include the fact that they are marine. They live in the ocean. They don't live in fresh water, and they don't live on land. They live on the bottom. They don't live in the water column where many fish swim. They have calcareous skeletons. That's skeletons made of calcium carbonate. They are nocturnal, which means they are mostly active at night. They move relatively slowly, and they are non-aggressive. However, they do have spines. So why do these organisms have spines? Well, they use them for protection. Some sea urchins have spines that are poisonous. Spines can be used to poke other urchins. Spines can help them to move, help them to walk, along with the tube feet. Spines also help them to burrow. Many sea urchins burrow for protection. And spines can even help them get food. Drifting algae can snag on the spines, and that can be drawn into their mouth. Now I'm going to talk about some of the local examples of this group. Probably the most conspicuous is the long spine sea urchin, as we know as diadema. When sea urchins die, they lose their spines, and what we find washed up on the beach is shown here on the right, their test. Diadema are especially important because they eat algae, they graze our coral reefs and keep them relatively free of algae. Unfortunately, in the 80s, we had a massive die-off of diadema, which left our reefs exposed to algae. Since that time, they've started to come back, but they're still not at the pre-die-off level. Another pretty conspicuous sea urchin is the West Indian sea egg, also known as Trypnustes. Again, here's the live organism and its test. Trypnustes has white spines, they're short, and they're not as sharp. Trypnustes can also be eaten. The gonads can be eaten. A very abundant but small sea urchin that we find is the boring urchin. These tests can be found washed on the beach all over the island. They use their spines to bore little holes in dead coral, and they usually are found just inconspicuously in a little crack or crevice in a coral area. The variegated sea urchin, or what I call the green sea urchin, is really very beautiful. The test to the right is also extremely pretty, and it seems like each one of these organisms have a very unique pattern, green and white pattern on their test. These organisms can be found in seagrass beds in some places around the island. The slate pencil urchin, shown here, has very thick spines. It can be found in cracks and crevices, usually pretty inconspicuous. Their test is very beautiful, and it's shown here. Probably our most beautiful sea urchin is called the magnificent urchin. You can see the iridescent blue between their spines, and their spines are orange and white banded. These urchins are generally found in deeper water and tend to be much more fragile. Now we're moving into the urchins that have shorter spines, almost hair-like. One includes the little burrowing urchin, shown here. Now, I've never actually seen a live specimen. However, I know they occur here because I find their tests washed up on the beach. Sea biscuits, another group of urchin-like organisms. Here's one. This one's on the surface. It doesn't burrow or bury itself underneath the sediment, unlike a lot of the other biscuits. It has very short spines on it that makes it look kind of velvety. If you look at the pattern on its back, it has puffed flower-like pattern. The test is very hard and durable. When this organism is on in shallow water, it covers itself in seagrass or shells or even pebbles. It's thought that this helps decrease the amount of sun getting to the organism and perhaps camouflage it as well. Another sea biscuit, a larger one, is called the heart urchin. This also has short brown spines. The test has a flower pattern that's indented. It usually buries itself under the sediment. It eats the organic material in the sediment. During the day, you might find it on the surface, or you might find it underneath the sediment. At night, you might find it on the surface. The heart urchin, also known sometimes as the red heart urchin. The giant heart urchin, shown here, is another one that I have never seen alive. However, I found several of his tests, which is shown here. They seem to be pretty rare, and their tests are definitely delicate. The groove burrowing urchin, shown here, is also very common. The test is very common, washed up on our shore, generally inconspicuous, found underneath coral or well hidden away. Before I go on to talk about the sand dollars, I want to talk about the importance of sea urchins in general. They can be used by food. You can see this picture in the middle and the 5 lines of orange substance, which are the gonads, and they are eaten in some places like Japan. Sea urchins are also used commonly in research, especially for studying cell division and for toxicology. Sea urchins eat algae. Therefore, it helps keep the amount of algae off of our reefs and other areas. And sea urchins, of course, are food for other types of marine life, such as crabs, starfish, some species of fish, like triggerfish. So let's move on to sand dollars. Sand dollars are found in very soft sediment, like sandy areas or muddy bottoms. They can be found standing on their edge, and they use their tube feet sometimes as filters. The star pattern seen on the top of the sand dollar is actually caused by special breathing tube feet. The mouth of a sand dollar is found on the underside of the animal. Here are some examples of some sand dollars, not all of which are found around here, but it shows you the diversity of sand dollars that exist. This is a video clip of a sand dollar burying itself or burrowing into the sand. They move very slowly. They use their tube feet as well as their spines to take them underneath the sand, where they're found normally during the day. At night, you might find them on the top. During the day, you probably won't see them, but if you see some bubbles coming up from the sand or the soft bottom, if you dig down, you might find a sand dollar. Here's a live sand dollar. You can see that this one is gray in color because of the spines. Once it dies, the spines fall off and it will be white in color. The local sand dollars that I've seen here include these two species. You can see the six-holed sand dollar on the right, the live organism, as well as what you might find washed up on the beach, and the other species that doesn't have any holes. So if you're interested in looking at sand dollars, sea urchins, or shells, come visit the St. Croix Seashell Museum. It's located at the St. George Village Botanical Gardens on St. Croix. Here's a couple of examples of the types of cases that you'll find. You'll find local shells found around St. Croix, as well as shells from other areas, echinoderms, things made out of shells. Come visit us. And if you have any questions about this presentation, you can always email me. My email address is given below, mtaylor@uvi.edu. Thank you.